Hello and welcome to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith and today it is the season finale. We have one round left to go to decide all of our champions for Season 5 of the Grand Prix World Series. We start off in League 2 as always, and we already have the Drivers' Champion decided in Shane van Gisbergen. Let's have a quick look at the points here. Van Gisbergen wrapping up the title last time out in Sepang, 203 points for the Kiwi, and he will be hoping to add to that tally here today in Buriram and finish his season on a high. There is still a bit of a fight to be vice champion though between Earl Bamber, Marcus Ericsson and Nick Tandy. We'll keep an eye to see who will get that position at the end. But also still to decide is the Teams Championship. Two are still in it. Ducati by Sam Hall and Lola by Marcus Ericsson. Those are the only two teams left who can win this year's League 2 title. And then we also have Jaguar and Cooper Kiro still fighting for promotion spots as well. Ducati has already been promoted into League 1 for next year, but there are still two more places up for grabs to be contested by three teams. It will be all to fight for in this race here today in Buriram. There are no driver changes to bring you for this final race of the season, so let's get straight to the grid and check out who will start where. And this was a close one in qualifying for today. But Kalle Rovanperä takes another pole position this season to round off the end of his debut campaign, just ahead of Jamie Whincup, Shane van Gisbergen and Earl Bamber, the top four, within a tenth of each other in qualifying. Nick Tandy fifth on the grid, looking to get that vice champion status today. Brendan Hartley sixth, ahead of Marcus Ericsson, Yaya Fay, Joseph Newgarden and Roman De Angelis in the Lancia rounding out the top 10. Julian Anlauer and Johnny Adam, the two Zaxby, starting together on row 6, ahead of Louis Delatraz, Nick Cassidy, Felipe Drugovich, Sho Suboy, Jodian Palmer, Zane Maloney, Callum Ilott and Colton Herter in 20th place in a Chip Ganassi. And at the back, Kamui Kobayashi, Nick De Vries, Dorian Pan, Richard Verschoor, Kyle Kirkwood and Beitske Visser propping up the field in 26th and last. So like I said, the Drivers' Champion this season has already been decided, but who will walk away with the Teams Championship and who will join Ducati in the promotion spots for racing in League 1 next season? Let's waste no more time. Tom Cairns, our commentator in the box, will keep you updated of all the permutations. Tom, let's get this one started.
Lola, Jaguar or Cooper Kiro will join Ducati in League 1 next season. Two of them will go up, one will stay in League 2 next season. There's also the Teams Championship on the line as well between Ducati and Lola. The 5 lights are on now. Lights on! Lights off, it's go in Buriram. A good getaway from Kalle Rovanperä once again as we watch the Cooper Kiro Jamie Whincup in second place being attacked by his teammate Nick Tandy and the Ducati of the League 2 Drivers' Champion Shane van Gisbergen. But it's Rovanperä leads the way coming out of turn 1 and coming towards the second braking zone of the lap as the field make their way through past this Buriram course hosting its first ever Grand Prix Series race. There goes Earl Bamber on the inside of Nick Tandy for 4th position. A good crucial move from the Kiwi getting past. Rovanperä leads, Whincup second, Van Gisbergen third. Then it's Bamber in 4th place, getting back into his position after losing it at the start. Then it's Tandy in 5th, Brendan Hartley in 6th place, Marcus Ericsson is 7th, with Roman De Angelis, Yi Yiffy and Joseph Newgarden around the top 10. A good move for Kalle Rovanperä. And as it stands, Ducati will still retain, or they'll clinch the League 2 Teams Championship. Lola came into this one needing a good haul of points. And for Ducati to have an off day, really. That's Brendan Hartley getting past Nick Tandy for 5th position. A good move again from Brendan Hartley. The last braking zone of the lap. A little tap further back involving the Lancia of Yi Yiffy. I think that was contact between him and Joseph Newgarden. We're going to see a replay of what exactly had taken place. Newgarden just runs into the rear of Yi Yiffy, barges him out of the way, and he actually gained the position by nudging him out of the way at the final turn. So surely he's going to pick up a time penalty for that, Joseph Newgarden, which will not be good news for Jaguar's hopes for promotion, and he has been penalised. 10-second time penalty for Joseph Newgarden for causing the collision and gaining the position as a consequence. There goes Yi Yiffy on Newgarden. Now, could we see an appeal from team manager Mike Smith for the fact that Yiafi was allowed back through by Newgarden, we shall see later. Nick Cassidy under attack now from the 40 of Nick, that is Louis Delatraz, sorry, Louis Delatraz on the inside. That's over at turn 3 from the Swiss. Get back through on Cassidy, who's been overtaken. Approaching the end of the second lap. We're looking at Shane van Gisbergen. He's got El Bamba for company here. Bamba going through on his rival and compatriot. Bamba getting through at the final turn past Shane van Gisbergen. And that's good enough for third place for the Jaguar driver. So Bamba on a charge. We don't know for certain what strategy each of the cars are running in this race. Some will be doing the 1, others doing the 2 in this 51 lap encounter. Top 3 teams will go up to League 1 next season. Ducati have already booked their place. They've not sealed the team's championship yet, but they are favourites to do so. It's Lola, Jaguar or Cupra Kiro that will join them. 2 of them will go up with Ducati. The other will stay in League 2 for season 6. Right on board with El Bamba. That is the rear wing view. And Bamba is one of those fighting for second place in the Drivers' Championship in League 2. Came to this 3 points clear over Marcus Ericsson and a further 13 clear over Nick Tandy. Victory would give Bamba second place. As it stands with the order as it is, he is on course to finish in second position. That's lap 3 done, and Robin Perez lead is just over a second on Jamie Whincup. Louis Delatraz further back in 11th position has got a Lancia in the way of Yiafi, who won the League 2 Campo Grande Grand Prix earlier in the campaign in round 2. This is the 18th and final championship round of the Grand Prix Series' longest season. We've still got the League 1 race to come later, and it's the end of the championship road for Yiafi in his maiden season. Another retirement for Yiafi, more mechanical gremlins for him. He's had so many of those this season, and that retirement was his 11th of the season, so he's only finished in 7 out of 18 races this season as the Chinese driver. Back on the Macau Grand Prix grid as Lancia have already booked their place on the grid for then. As they have amassed enough points, the top 13 teams across the 2 leagues will be on the Macau Grand Prix grid. There is Jolyon Palmer heading through. I think that's one of the Masters he's got past there. That has to be Sho Suboi. But Suboi's coming back at turn 1 and look on Jolyon Palmer. Don't know for certain what his Grand Prix Series future holds. And the top 6 teams in League 2 mathematically booked their places on the Macau Grand Prix grid in a week's time. And that's a lock-up from Sho Suboi. Goes off the circuit, front wing damage for the Japanese driver, but he has to come back on safely, which I don't feel that he did, and he's caused massive problems there, and he's been taken out as well. But that was totally inflicted by him, rejoining unsafely back onto the racing line. Although, to be fair, the IM Danes ran into Suboi after coming back onto the circuit. Was this avoidable from Dorian Pan? Do you know what? I think that was avoidable from Pan. Yes, Suboi rejoined dangerously back onto the circuit, but I still feel that Pan could have avoided that. Suboi's race is over. He goes no further. Roman DeAngelis has made an error at the last turn there. And his error has cost him 8th place to Joseph Newgarden. And Dorian Pan has been excluded from this race and would be out of the Macau Grand Prix race if I'm Dames were to get there, but it is mathematically impossible for them to be there, because if Pan's been excluded, they basically need to get like a 1-2 at the very minimum. Did I Am Dames, if they're to have any hope, but I think Force India are the 13th highest team on course for a place on the Macau Grand Prix grid with 95 points. Iron Danes have collected only 30 all season. Therefore, it's mathematically impossible for Iron Danes to catch them. So that disqualification will kick Pan out of this race, but that race ban will prove to be irrelevant. Look at Brendan Hartley, close to his teammate Shane van Gisbergen. I wonder if Van Gisbergen may be on the one stop here compared to others, hence why he allowed the likes of Robin Pera, the likes of Bamba and that to go by. Engine failure for Louis Delatraz at turn 1, and that brings an end to his championship season, and 40's hopes of being on the Macau grid have been dented by this as well. That's the third driver retiring from the race on lap number 7. And that's not a good sight for team manager Dave Goddard, as one of his drivers has pulled out with mechanical gremlins. Jamie Whincup in second place. Now, the positions as they are, Cupra Kiro will go up with Lola and Ducati. Jaguar will be staying in League 2 next season. But it can all change very, very quickly. Shane van Gisbergen's race is going to come to a premature close just after missing the pit entry. It is Mechanical Gremlins for the League 2 Drivers' Champion, who is not going to make it a record 6 Grand Prix Series victories in a season. Well, interestingly, he's just come back out onto the circuit, but now he's off the circuit, and this is going to cause huge problems for the other drivers. And that was really strange. That I've never seen that before. Pulling off the pit exit, and then the pit exit, allowing him to come back onto the racetrack like that, and then stopping with the gearbox issues that he had. And behind Van Gisbergen, that's that has to be Shane Maloney. I think he must have made an early pit stop in this race as Maloney. So he's got some work to do if he's to end his season on a high. But at least he's still in the race, unlike Shane Van Gisbergen, who's retired. Now, Robin Perez just crossed over the line to start another lap, and they're going to come up to Van Gisbergen very shortly, who is not getting off the racetrack. The car is still creeping forward. Now, if this causes problems for his rivals, this is not going to please the team managers. And there, oh, he's been nudged off by Jamie Whincup. And I wonder if it's going to be a further punishment for Shane Van Gisbergen for that. It took him such a long time to get off the racetrack. Out he goes, but will there be further repercussions for League 2 Drivers' Champion? And the answer to that is no. He was very lucky he didn't take out any of the other drivers, because I did fear that that was what could have happened. Lap 9 of the race, Robin Perez' lead is coming up to 2.5 seconds over Jamie Whincup. El Bamba is in 3rd place. Brendan Hartley's 4th. Marcus Ericsson 5th. Nick Sandy 6th. Joseph Newgarden 7th. Now, Van Gisbergen's retirement has given Lola a chance to snatch the team's championship away from them. With Robin Pera in the lead, Ericsson in 5th. That would give them 35 championship points, plus the points for pole position, which are automatically secure, which is automatically secured for Lola, as well as the fast lap point that Rovanperä has. 37 championship points for Lola would put them on 330 points. Ducati, who are on course of only 12 points with Brendan Hartley, would put them on 326. We're going to get a graphic coming up on the screen to tell us the situation in both the Teams Championship and in the race for promotion. Rovanperä is aiming for his third Grand Prix Series win, and that's the lonely Ford crawling to a stop. Say Maloney out of the race. It's a disappointing end to Ford's season, their maiden season in the Grand Prix Series. They'll have another crack at it in Season 6 under the eyes of Lucy Passendale. And they'll hope that they can continue being the dark horse. Their main highlight is Maloney's podium in Rockingham in round 5. That's casualty number 5 from this race. There's also Pan's disqualification on top of it. As it stands, Lola will snatch the team's championship away from Ducati, with Van Gisbergen already out of the race. Not only Lola will seal the team's championship, but also will go up with Ducati, with Cupra running in second place and also in 6th. They are on course for promotion, going up in 3rd place, and Jaguar will finish 4th and stay in League 2 next season. Rovanperä crosses over the line to complete lap 11. 40 laps to go in this final League 2 championship race of the season. Or final League 2 race of the season, because the Macau Grand Prix grid will consist both of League 1 and League 2 teams. There goes Kobayashi behind Nick de Vries, who have loved to have been in the fight for promotion for their teams, but that's sadly not the case this season for Forte and Toyota. El Bamba chasing Jamie Whincup. Bamba needs to pass Whincup, really. And Newgarden ideally needs to get past Tandy as well. So Jaguar have got 2 bites of the cherry here. They came into this level on points with Cupra, but on countback, they were ahead of them. So if either of their drivers could get past one of the Cupra, that would put them ahead of their rivals as it stands. But at the moment, it's Cupra who will be going up with Lola and Ducati. It is possible that both Jaguar and Cupra go up, but they need Lola to falter here. Running down on the setups for each of the teams in League 2. We begin with Pacific, who've gone for neutral. Zach Speed, mid downforce. 40 mid top speed. And we'll come back to that in a second, because one of the Toyotas is retiring, and that is Nick de Vries, who's had a season to forget. We've lost another one from this race. We could end up having another attrition, which has been the case, and that's a rear suspension failure that's forced de Vries to retire. In fact, it was a puncture, not a suspension problem. So either way, it's game over for de Vries. Going back to the setups, 40 have gone for mid top speed, Lola maximum top speed. The same for Lancia and Ducati. Jaguar mid top speed, Chip Ganassi maximum top speed, Toyota mid top speed, Iron Danes neutral, Ford mid top speed, Cooper Kiro maximum top speed and Mazda mid top speed. Well, look, I've done everything right so far, but it's far from over by any means. And there goes Pan, spinning, and front wing damaged on the Iron Dames. And that'll be an early trip to the pit lane for the French driver who has delivered this season. But it's been a far from positive day. And even though Iron Dames won't be at the Macau Grand Prix, she won't be eligible to compete in that for any other team. Second place. He's also delivered for Cooper Kiro. It was an inspiring decision from team manager Ed Hunter to put him in place of Sergio Sette Camera. It won't be too long before season 6 arrives, after the team managers have decided on their driver pairings or driver lineups, choice of tyres, choice of engines. Submitted all their budgets towards brake horsepower, downforce and reliability. We kickstart the season at Road America in the USA, before we head to Westwood in Canada, and we head to Brazil in Curitiba. Then it's off to Argentina at Petrolero de los Funes, before we head back to the States in Sebring, which will be the venue, which will be the stage for the Grand Prix of the Americas. Jamie Winkup's just come into the pits for your information from second place. The first European round of next season will be at Dijon-Bourgogne in France on the short layout. It's off to Valencia, the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Spain, followed by Marrakesh, Morocco. We head back to Britain at Donington Park, and it's Hockenheim, Germany on the old layout. It's Anderstorp, Sweden. Mugello in Italy, which will be the host of the Grand Prix of Europe. That's the last European round of the season. We go to Hanoi, Vietnam, Sepang, Malaysia, Buriram, Thailand, which is where the drivers are racing at today. Then it's to the land of the rising sun in Motegi, another new venue for the Grand Prix series, and that'll be the host of the Grand Prix of Asia. And then we finish the season in Oceania, Phillip Island, Australia, and Manawatu, New Zealand, which will be the venue for the finale. And there is also the non-championship Macau Grand Prix, involving the 13 highest scoring teams across the two leagues. Boskovica came in for Iron Dames, and now El Bamba is in at the end of lap 16. So he's on the 2-stop. And Winkup, meanwhile, is on the move past Johnny Adam for position. There goes the Australian at the final turn. Where is El Bamba? Has he done enough to get out in front of Jamie Winkup? I don't think he has. No, he's behind Winkup, and he's also behind Adam, so Bamba will have to get by the sack speed to catch back up to the Cooper Kiro. Julian Palmer, the latest to come in for Pacific. Brendan Hartley now in second place, Robin Perra continuing on in the lead. Just need to be wary of back markers later on. Hartley, sole surviving Ducati, is in the pit lane for his first stop. Ducati may have promotion and the Drivers' Championship already in the bag, but the Team's Championship is still on the line. Bamber gets past Johnny Adam at the final turn. And does Hartley get out ahead of him? The answer to that question is no, he doesn't. Hartley falls behind Earl Bamber, and he gets out behind Nick Cassidy as well, which won't help his cause either. Colton Hurton and Felipe Drogovic are both in the pit lane. Chip Ganassi and Ford. And that's Kimura Kobayashi now with Joseph Newgarden. And Kobayashi's on the inside. Has he done enough to make his way past? The answer to that question is no. Newgarden fends him off for the time being. Marcus Ericsson in second place. It's now a Lola 1 and 2. Neither of the two have stopped yet. Rovanperä continues on for another lap. Hartley gets past Nick Cassidy on circuit. And it's Ericsson's turn to head for the pit lane from second position. Rovanperä continues on. He's lapped already. The driver appears to just come out of the pit lane behind him. Julian Anlower comes in for Zach Speed. And Kobayashi is now in for 40. Hoping to end his season on a high. Most experienced driver in the Grand Prix Series, who is competing in his 77th start today. Brilliant achievement for Kobayashi. Won't be too far away from getting to the 100 mark. And the race leader is now in. Kalle Rovanperä pits in from the lead. Hartley overtakes Adam whilst watching that. And Ericsson isn't too far behind Brennan Hartley, but he's now got Nick Cassidy in the way, which won't help. We've got a new race leader in Nick Tandy, who has, before this season, attempted to go for the one stop, which helped him win the race in Marrakesh, if you remember. DeAndres has decided to also remain out there. I think Wincup's ahead of Rovanperä. Whincup has completed an undercut on Kalle Rovanperä to go into the lead. He's 1.5 seconds clear, but he's now effectively in the net race lead. Is Whincup. That's great news for Keeper Kiro. Rovanperä will be on the fresher tyres though, so I don't think it's going to be too long before he gets on the rear of the Keeper Kiro ahead. Whincup overtakes DeAngelis though for second place. DeAngelis hasn't stopped yet in this one. It's clear to me now that I think Keeper Kiro are splitting the strategies. Tandy stays out for another lap. Rovanperä overtakes DeAngelis at the last turn. As it stands, Ducati will be the team's champions of League 2. Rovanperä overtakes DeAngelis, but that doesn't change the situation there. Keeper Kiro on course to go up with Ducati and Lola. Jaguar will remain in League 2 next season. Johnny Adam is the latest to pit in for Zach Speed. He's joined by Nick Cassidy. Both having respectable drives so far. DeAngelis is passed by Earl Bamber. And that's over the left-hander of turn number 4. I believe it is turn 4. And there is Felipe Drogovic passing Johnny Adam on the inside. That's a good move from Felipe Drogovic to head on through. Rovanperä closing in on Whincup on the fresher tyres. The Finn will be racing in Super Formula in 2026. He's determined to make his bid clear to be a League One driver next season in the Grand Prix Series. He won't be close enough to attack Whincup this time around. The hairpin. That is Adam being held up by Felipe Drogovic. At the moment, I wonder if Drogovic got back ahead of Adam since we were watching the fight between Whincup and Rovanperä. Richie Verschaw comes in for Toyota. Nick Tandy, meanwhile, is doing his utmost to keep himself out of trouble from the back markers. Julian Palmer is coming up behind Dorian Pan for position. That's him through into 19th place. Right on board with Nick Tandy. He's continuing on. There goes Rovanperä on Whincup for second place. Rovanperä passes Jamie Whincup for the net race lead. A good overtake at the last corner. And that was all Rovanperä needed to get back ahead of his rival. Good overtake from the Lola. And Tandy, I think, has stopped. Has he come into the pit lane? Tandy must have come into the pit lane whilst we were watching Rovanperä getting by Whincup, and he's through into the lead now. Tandy rejoins in 8th position behind Joseph Newgarden. But with him going that far, will he be going to the end? I would say that Nick Tandy is going to go to the end of the race. But he has to make the strategy work if he's going to do it. I don't think he will do. I think he's going to get absolutely slaughtered by the two stoppers and fall out of the podium places, but we'll see. Hartley goes past De Angelis, who still hasn't come into the pitch yet. Approaching the halfway point. And Lola are doing everything right. There's a Lola, a Cooper Kiro and a Jaguar in the top 3. Then the only Ducati left in the race is Brendan Hartley. Shane van Gisbergen already out. Whincup second, it's Bamber, Hartley, De Angelis, Ericsson, Newgarden and Tandy in the top 8. We've got Julian Anlow and Colin Eilot inside the top 10. Jaguar team boss Mike Smith has never celebrated promotion before after 3 attempts with sack speed. But since he's moved to Jaguar, stepped up. This is the most important race he's having to manage in the Grand Prix Series. As it stands with the way things are, it's Cooper Kiro who are going up with Lola and Ducati. Another strong race from the Australian. Pole position in Parnu. He's also finished on the podium 3 times. That's an overtake there from Richard Verschaw on Weiskowitzer for 17th. Second place finish on his return in Hockenheim. Second in Brno. Third place finish Fuji on top of that. So not in Fuji, in New Delhi. For Wing Cup. And it's Sunday. Who retired from the last 2 races. He's not had the best of form at the moment compared to maybe his teammate, but he's still in the running for second place in the championship. De Angelis does finally pit in for Lancia. And an engine following for one of the Chip Ganassis is Kyle Kirkwood. One of the most unlucky drivers in the field. And he's going to end his season on the sidelines, unfortunately. Ilott pits in for the only time. But Kyle Kirkwood's race is over. And could this be the last we see from him in the Grand Prix Series for a while? We shall see. Seven drivers out of the race. 19 still going. Wing Cup in P2. El Bamba not too far behind. The Lola of Kalle Rovanperä, who is doing his utmost to build the gap for the second round of pit stops. Heroes are running in 2nd and 7th. The Jaguars are running in 3rd and 6th. Cubic Hero are on course for 24 points. Jaguar are on course for 23. Cubic Hero will go up by a point over Jaguar. Continuing on his way. Nick Tandy is doing his utmost to keep himself in the fray for the race win. Team manager of Lola, Marcus Johansson, has had this feeling before a couple of seasons back. Went straight back down last season. His Lola drivers are looking good to seal the team's return to League One this time around. Jamie Whincup in 2nd place. No problems for him so far. It's the second half of the event here in the League 2 Buriram Grand Prix. It has put on a show so far in terms of track action with the battling and overtakes and that. Sandy's 5 seconds off 6th place, Joseph Newgarden. Sandy isn't exactly getting the gap down on him right now, even on the fresher rubber compared to some. No, 29. 23 remaining. There is the League One race still to come after this, so do not go anywhere. Now the Buriram circuit, otherwise known as the Shang International Circuit, first opened in 2014. It's the host of the MotoGP event. And there's a problem for the second Ducati of Brendan Hartley. Another non-finish for the Kiwi. And could that cost them any chance of coming away with the team's championship? Hartley retires And it's no points for Ducati for once. It's their first double non-finish since Brno. The other time that both cars failed to finish was in Rockingham. So it's the team's third double non-finish of the season, which will not please team manager Sam Hall by any means. And Hartley's retirement has promoted Newgarden and Tandy up positions, but it doesn't change the situation in terms of who needs what. Cooper Kiro are now on course for 26 points. Jaguar are on course for 25. Cooper Kiro will still be going up ahead of Jaguar. And Lola, now with both of the Ducatis out of the race, they're going to be touching the team's championship. And it's another retirement from this race, and it's the second Chip Ganassi pulling out, and it's Colton Herter. More reliability woes for Kieran McGinley's team. Phil Kinch was the man in charge for the majority of the season before Kieran McGinley finished the job off. But he has a lot of work to do if he is to see his team anywhere near in the fight for promotion. And I think Rovanperä has had a spin. He has. Rovanperä has spun. Over at turn 1, Kalle Rovanperä locks up and spins the Lola round. He gets going again, but he's handed the lead over to Jamie Whincup. Rovanperä rejoins in third place ahead of his teammate Marcus Ericsson. As it stands, Lola will be team's champions ahead of Ducati. Cooper Kiro will be 5 points clear of Jaguar to seal their place in League One next season. Now, the last couple of seasons, the team that's finished 4th in the League 2 Teams Championship have been granted a place in League 1 thanks to other teams in League 1 pulling out. And it's the second engine failure of the race for Lancia, or the second mechanical problem for them. And it's Roman De Angelis who just sums up the team's season with the reliability problems that they keep on occurring and occurring and occurring. And the Canadian is going to round off his rookie campaign by pulling onto the grass. It's a shame for De Angelis, who attempts to try and make the one-stop work, but to no avail. It's race over. And away from those in the battle for the team's championship or promotion, Julian Anlo is in 7th place, and Johnny Adam, Felipe Drogovic and Kamui Kobayashi are inside the top 10. There could be more to come. Jamie Whincup leads the League 2 Buriram Grand Prix. El Bamba is second. And it's Kalle Rovanperä down to 3rd place after his spin. Still possible that Lola can fall out of the promotion places if both drives fail to finish and both Jaguar and Cooper Kiro score at least 26 points each. Lola will be staying in League 2 next season. entering the phase of the second round of pit stops now. So it shouldn't be too long before we see the likes of Whincup, Bamber, Rovanperä, Ericsson and Newgarden all coming in, which will hand the lead over to Nick Tandy. If Whincup can pull this one off, then it's either him or Tandy that will come away with the race win. I think if your name is Ed Hunter, I don't think you'll care who wins the race, just as long as Kipakiro go up. Now, if you remember, in Season 3, Pacific were 28 points clear over Force India. And Force India's 1-2 finish at the last round at Laguna Seca had denied Pacific promotion to begin with. Pacific did go up soon after because of other teams in League 1 pulling out. But there's no guarantee that will happen again here. Bamber is on course for second place in the Drivers' Championship as we speak. Kamui Kobayashi locks up at the last turn behind Felipe Drogovic, who is contesting Formula E these days. His position at Aston Martin being filled by Formula 2 runner-up Jack Crawford. Whincup getting held up behind Dorian Pan, who should get out of the way here. No, she hasn't got out of the way yet, and that's not going to please Whincup by any means. And we look at Rovanperä in the Lola, determined to get back into the lead. There is Dorian Pan being lapped by Jamie Whincup, and there are the retirements: Roman DeAngelis, Colton Herter, Brendan Hartley, Kyle Kirkwood, Nick De Vries, Zane Maloney, Shane van Gisbergen, who have also lost. And we lost the likes of Louis Delatraz. Lost Yiafi, who was the first retirement of the race. And Sho Suboi, who was the second driver out. Into the final third of the race. Lola and Kipakiro will be going up to League 1 with Chikati. Lola are on course to seal the team's championship. For Lola to win the team's championship, they have to outscore Chikati by at least... It's difficult to say. I think they have to score them by at least 22 points, which they're on course to do. Jamie Whincup pits from the lead. A big pit stop in the team season and in Ed Hunter's Grand Prix Series managerial career. Gets out in front of Julian Anlower in 6th place. Clear track ahead of him. That's a good time in the pit stop there for Kipakiro. El Bamba leads the race. And Rovanperä will go up into P2. How far is Whincup behind Tandy? Well, I can tell you he's a little over 10 seconds behind Nick Tandy. Got a pit stop over at 40 because Kamui Kobayashi has made his way in. Laps remaining. El Bamba's gone over the line again. Right on board with Dorian Pan, who will be excluded from the race result for his part, for her part in the incident with Sho Suboi. She will not be eligible to compete in the Macau Grand Prix, even if Iron Dames aren't there. El Bamba in the lead right now for Jaguar. He's coming up to the back markers. That's Kobayashi. The next driver ahead of him is just pitted. He's closing in on Bajskovica, who is still aiming for her first Grand Prix Series points. It could still happen today, though. If more drivers drop out of this, she's got a chance of getting something. Marcus Ericsson, P3, 4 seconds off Rovanperä ahead. Newgarden is 2.5 seconds clear over Nick Tandy. Will we see any pit lane activity at the end of this lap? And the answer to that question is yes, because El Bamba is in. And Rovanperä will go back into the lead. Ericsson moves up to second place, Newgarden third, Tandy fourth. That's Kamui Kobayashi overtaking Bajskovica for 14th place. Jamie Whincup now has the fastest up of the race, and that's important for both him and for Keeper Kiro. Julian Andler in for Zach Speed. El Bamba gets out behind Whincup. Now Bamba will be on 2 laps fresher tyres compared to Whincup, which could give Bamba an advantage, and it's an engine problem for Bajskovica. What a shame. What a shame. The closest she came to points was in Kyalami whilst running in 7th place, and she's going to end her season without a single point to her name. Unless she can get that car back to the pit lane. And that's the Lola of Rovanperä coming up behind. And this is not going to please Lola one bit. Vitsa has gone past the pit lane. And it's race over for her. And Iron Days' day is effectively done because Pan is already going to be excluded for the incident she was involved in with Joe Supoi. Newgarden pits in for Jaguar. Newgarden will rejoin behind Bamba in 6th place. He'll get out in front of Johnny Adam, no problem. Down the back straight towards turn number 4 for Vitsa. She still hasn't got off the circuit yet. Ericsson goes past her. And it won't be too long before Tandy goes through as well. Tandy gets past the Iron Dames, and Vitsa is out of the race. Just 15 left in this. And Vitsa's car will be lifted over the barrier, and it's an engine problem that sidelines her. And Ericsson's out of the race in the Lola! A massive twist in the race for the team's championship. Marcus Ericsson retires from the Lead 2 Buriram Grand Prix. Now the only way that Lola are going to win it is for Rovanperä to take victory today here in Buriram. Rovanperä has to win this race for Lola to win the team's championship. El Bamba now has the fastest up of the race, a 1 minute 17.3. Now we saw how far Rovanperä went. I think he's due to complete a 1-stop, to be honest with you. The race is on. Felipe Dragovic comes in for the last time for Ford. Now, if I was Rovanperä, does he decide to pit in at the end of this lap? Julian Palmer comes in for Pacific. It's Rovanperä who pits in, so I thought Rovanperä might pit in. A crucial pit stop in Lola's season. Nick Tandy goes through into the lead. Jamie Whincup is second. And it's the two Jaguars of Earl Bamber and Joseph Newgarden. I think Rothenpera might rejoin ahead of Newgarden actually, so Rothenpera rejoins in 4th place. As it stands, Chikatsi will be team's champions and Kubakiro will be finishing 2nd ahead of Lola, who will still be promoted ahead of Jaguar. El Bamba on course for 2nd place. As it stands, even with Nick Tandy leading this one. Must say that Nick Tandy is on course to finish 3rd ahead of Ericsson. But there goes Whincup passing Tandy for the lead. Whincup is through ahead of Tandy. So the lead changes again. This time at the expense of the Australian. Jamie Whincup leads the Lead 2 Buriram Grand Prix on lap 41. Tandy had to give way. Whincup was on the better tyres anyway. And so he can plough on. Earl Bamber will be on better tyres compared to Tandy. He has to get through ahead of him. If he's going to do it, he has to do it on the circuit now. And it's a retirement for Kamui Kobayashi. That'll be both of the 40s gone from this. A sorry sight for team manager Dave Goddard. And this ruins all his hopes of being on the Macau Grand Prix grid in a week's time. 40 won't be there. You can just see Julian Palmer coming up behind Nick Tandy to unlap himself from him, and that's going to aid Earl Bamber as well. And then there were 13. And Julian Palmer is so close to Nick Tandy. But he also has to watch out for Earl Bamber coming up to lap him. Drop back a little bit now from Tandy as Palmer, so if I was Bamber, I would just go through ahead of Palmer here. Rothenpera now has the fast lap of the race, so 1 minute 17.1 in his bid to get back towards a position to seal the team's championship, and the only way that's going to happen is for him to win. He's 10 seconds off the lead as Rothenpera, so I would say if it's going to happen, he's going to have to rely on mistakes and reliability issues from the Kupakiros and the Jaguars. So Saxby's running well in 6th and 7th, and lower ahead of Adam by 15 seconds. Nick Cassidy 8th. Richard for Shaw on course for a couple of points for Toyota. Hoping to end their season on a high. It won't be enough to lift them off the bottom of the team's championship. Through goes Bamber. He's passed. Oh, that's an engine problem. Is that Rothenpera? That's got to be Kalle Rothenpera, because that's his engine going up in the Lola. What is going on with Kalle Rothenpera? So we need to see what's going on involving him. We did see some smoke, and he's out! Rothenpera retires from the Lead 2 Bureau Grand Prix with 9 laps remaining. And that crowns the team's championship for Ducati. Ducati are the Lead 2 team's champions of the Grand Prix World Series. More celebrations for Sam Hall. There is the confirmation. Ducati Fincantieri are the Lead 2 team's champions. And if things remain as they are, Lola are going to fall out of the top 3, because Kubakiro and Jaguar are both on course for more than 26 championship points. Kubakiro are on course for 40. and Jaguar are on course for 30. They're both going to be heading up. And Lola are going to fall out of the promotion places. And that's Julian Palmer on lapping himself from Nick Tandy at last. He's up into 11th place now because of Robin Perez's retirement. 7 laps remaining. Whincup is on course for his first Grand Prix Series victory. Earl Bamber on course for 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship, is 2nd in this race. Nick Tandy is 3rd on the 1-stop. Joseph Newgarden is 4th on the 2-stop and chasing after Tandy, so there's still a chance that Newgarden could get by Tandy before this race is over. And that's Richard Verschoor fighting with Felipe Drogovic over 8th place now that Robin Perez out, but Drogovic feels that he can still get more points. Kalamola isn't too far behind either. Nick Tandy in 3rd position. He's on course for 3rd place in the championship as it stands. Here is Felipe Drogovic on Richard Verschoor for 8th position, and that's the Brazilian going past the Dutchman. Another brilliant race we've been treated to here in Thailand. And that's a lock-up from Earl Bamber in his pursuit of Jamie Whincup. The gap between Tandy and Newgarden is still 5 seconds, coming down a little bit as we wait for the gaps to update. It's now down to 4.5. Whincup leads on lap 46. 5 laps to go at the end of this one. Now Lola, with the 2 championship points they're on course for, with the pole position and fastest lap they've got, that is still not going to be enough to see them get promoted. Jaguar will be on 298 points. Kubikiro will be on 308. Lola will be on 295. They'll miss out on promotion by 3 points. So unless either of the Kubikiros or Jaguars hit trouble in these final 5 laps, Lola will be remaining in League 2 next season. A double blow for Marcus Johansson, the team manager, when it was looking so good for him. But it's not over yet. 3 seconds it's come down to between Nick Tandy and Joseph Newgarden. And Bamber is closing the gap a little, but he's not closing down on it enough. But Jaguar are doing everything they need to do, as are Kubikiro. Now, if Tandy was to overtake Bamber, which he won't do now, unless Bamber makes a mistake somewhere, that would have put Jaguar level on points with Lola, and Lola would be ahead on countback. The gap between Tandy and Newgarden is coming down to a couple of seconds with 4 laps remaining. So Newgarden has to take out at least half a second on Tandy. Is to finish on the podium and cement Jaguar's place in League 1 next season. And they're coming up to back markers now as well. I think that has to be... Is that Julian Palmer ahead? Are they coming up to? Or is that Dorian Pan? I can't quite see. It might be alright for now. I think they'll be alright from here. Gap between Whincup and Bamber is 3.7 seconds. Approaching the end of lap 48. 3 to go. 3.5 seconds to come down to, but Whincup is doing enough here to hold on ahead of the Kiwi. And there's some engine smoke up ahead. Please don't let that be Whincup. It's not Whincup. It's Richard Verschaw in the Toyota. Richard Verschaw is out of the race, and that sums up Mike Gillespie's season. For the second season in a row, he's going to see his team finish rock bottom. It was Tolman last season. It's Toyota this season. And Verschaw's retirement will allow Jolyon Palmer to move up into the points. Out goes Richard Verschaw, and it's the end of the day for Toyota. No points here in Buriram. A sorry end to a difficult season for the team. And there we see Whincup lapping Callum Ilott for position. Ilott up into 9th place now, as Whincup is about to begin the penultimate lap. 11 cars remaining. And there goes Newgarden on the inside of Nick Tandy for position. And Newgarden gets through into 3rd position. A brilliant overtake from Joseph Newgarden. And has that cemented Jaguars' place in League One next season? We shall see. But a brilliant pass from the 2-stopping Joseph Newgarden to put 2 Jaguars on the podium. Tandy didn't have a very good lap. And now he's having to settle for 4th place. He's got over 20 seconds in hand over Julian Anlower, so he'll be fine from there. And Bamber has got the gap down to 2.4 on Whincup. But he's got a Pacific in the way, which I think will curtail his pursuit. Right on board with Bamber now, who's beginning to get held up by Callum Ilott. And there he goes through, past the League 2 Drivers' Champion of last season. Final up of the race for Jamie Whincup in the Cooper Kiro for his first Grand Prix Series victory and seal the team's place in League One next season. The same applies for Earl Bamber and Jaguar, who thought they were in a duel with Cooper Kiro for promotion. But it feels like everyone is a winner over at Jaguar and Cooper Kiro, with Lola's double demise from this race has opened up the opportunities for the 2 teams below them to seal their places at the expense of them. Jamie Whincup had a dreadful short stint with Simtech in Season 2 before he was dropped by Scott Woodwis. Ed Hunter gave him the opportunity back this season at Hockenheim, and he's duly delivered. Twice runner-up this season. He got a 3rd place finish as well in New Delhi, and now on the most important day for Cooper Kiro in their 18th championship race in Ed Hunter's 4th season as a Grand Prix World Series manager, he would have never thought of a day like this. Jamie Whincup exits the last corner. Jamie Whincup wins the League 2 Buriram Grand Prix. Cooper Kiro are promoted to League 1 for Season 6. Ed Hunter can celebrate at last. Alabama 2nd, Joseph Newgarden is 3rd. Jaguar go up to League 1 as well. And there we are. Cooper Kiro and Jaguar are both promoted to League 1 next season. Lola will be staying in League 2, unfortunately. Mike Smith, who had 3 seasons as the team boss of Sax Speed, is promoted with Jaguar in their first attempt. Congratulations to them. Ducati are the League 2 teams champions, despite not scoring today. And we see the rest of the drivers going over the line. 2 Sax Speeds in the top 6. Julian Anlower finishing ahead of Johnny Adam, but there's a race for 7th place. It looks like Felipe Drugovich could snatch that position away from Nick Cassidy. He's done so at the last corner. Felipe Drugovich snatches 7th place away from Nick Cassidy to end his season on a high. It's a win for Jamie Whincup. He's first in the Grand Prix World Series. Kubikiro and Jaguar are both promoted to League 1. Ducati are the League 2 teams champions. Whincup wins with Bamber in second. And it's Sandy in third place, getting back ahead of Joseph Newgarden, who's got that time penalty. Anlower fifth, Johnny Adams sixth. Dragovic is seventh, and Nick Cassidy and Callum Aylott, with Julian Palmer the last of the finishers inside the top 10. Richard Verschoor didn't make it to the checkerfied, but it's classified as a finisher anyway. Callum Rompero lost, along with Kumiko Kobayashi and Marcus Ericsson. That double non-finish has cost Lola the team's championship and promotion. Bajskovica, Roman DeAngelis, Colton Herter, Brendan Hartley, Kyle Kirkwood, Nick DeFries, Shane Maloney, Shane Van Gisbergen, who lost early on, Louis Delachaz, Sho Suboy, and Yiafi were the rest of those to not finish. Dorian Pan finished 11th on the road, but is disqualified for taking out Sho Suboy. The pole position and fast start points go to Cali Rovanpera and Valola, but it's not enough. They will not be in League 1 next season. They will be in League 2 instead for another campaign. Another season finale in League 2 that have seen so many twists. In Season 3, Force India overcome a 28-point lead to deny Pacific promotion, to begin with at least anyway. Pacific did go up shortly afterwards, but denied them finishing in the top 3. Lola had the chance to seal the team's championship, but double reliability woes for Marcus Ericsson and Calivan Pera has seen them fall out of the top 3. Jaguar and Kubikiro will be celebrating long into the night. Congratulations to team managers Mike Smith and Ed Hunter, who will be League 1 team managers next season. Sam Hall will be celebrating his return to the top flight as a League 2 managers teams champions. It's time to run down on the final League 2 drivers and teams championships in the voice of Topher Smith, and we're back for the League 1 race very, very shortly. It's going to be another exciting finale to this Grand Prix World Series season.
Well, it all went on in that race, and we now have a conclusion. We already know that Shane Van Gisbergen is the Drivers' Champion, and as the Vice Champion this season, it is Earl Bamber. If we have a look at the final standings here, 203 points for Shane Van Gisbergen, 181 for Earl Bamber. He is the Vice Champion of League 2 for this season, and Nick Tandy did overtake Marcus Ericsson for third place, but that will be of little consolation to him after a championship challenging campaign. And wow, did it all change around in the team's championship as well. Ducati wrapped up the team's championship after Lola had a double retirement. Sam Hall celebrates the double this season, and through Lola's double retirement, that has allowed the door open for Kuprikiro and Jaguar to be promoted into League 1 for next season along with Ducati. Lola going from a championship winning position through their race into not coming away with anything at all. That's how quickly things can change in the Grand Prix World Series. So Lola will stay in League 2 for next season, but Marcus Johansson, I'm sure, will be doing everything that he can to challenge for the title and for promotion once again. Right, for now, let's move on to League 1, where we still have 5 drivers in contention to win this title. Let's have a look at the point standings. Felix Rosenqvist on 165, Scott Dixon on 164, Antonio Fix da Costa on 152, Kevin Magnussen on 147, and Kevin Estra on 146. It is so close for this championship, and any one of those 5 will walk away with the title this season. But who will it be? That's what we're here to find out, and we can't wait to get this race underway. Looking at the teams as well, 3 still in contention. Onyx on 310, Fomital on 299, Arrows on 289. Any of those 3 teams will deserve the title this year, but only one can go home with it. Also the relegation battle to think about as well. As it stands, Ram Racing, Prima Racing and Simtech will be going down to League 2 for next season, but a strong result here could change things. Simtech, I think, are pretty much out of it. They would need a perfect score with those above them not getting any points, but nothing is guaranteed in the championship. Anything can happen, and we will see what the race brings later on. Much the same as in League 2, we don't have any driver changes for you. So let's have a look at the grid for this final race of the season. And it is an all Kevin front row. Kevin Estre on pole, less than a tenth of a second ahead of Kevin Magnussen. 2 drivers still fighting for the championship, as is Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenqvist on the second row. They are still in championship contention as well. Rosenqvist, our points leader as it stands. Robin Freins is 5th ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, the championship contender with the lowest qualifying position. But never say never. In the Grand Prix World Series, it can all still change. Luke Browning 7th ahead of Philippe Albuquerque. And then the 2 Minardis of Pascal Wehrlein and Ryo Hirakawa in 9th and 10th. 11th and 12th for the 2 Carlins of Pato O'Ward and Stoffel Van Dorn. Sebastian Buemi, who will lose his title of reigning champion today, 13th on the grid ahead of his former teammate Jean-Eric Verne. Jake Dennis 15th ahead of Jose Maria Lopez. Then Oliver Rowland, Linus Lundqvist, Alex Palou, Tomoki Najiri, Nolan Siegel, Leonardo Fornaroli, Igor Fraga, and then we have some back of the grid penalties. Scott McLaughlin, Raffaele Marcello and Philip Hansen, all beginning from the rear of the field, owing to grid drops picked up last time out in Sepang. So 2 titles to decide. Who will be our driver's champion? Who will be our team's champion? There's only one way to find out. Let's head back on over to Tom Cairns, who is eagerly waiting to get this race underway. So Tom, let's crown some champions.
Is Felix Rosenqvist going to celebrate his first Grand Prix World Series title? Will Scott Dixon celebrate his 3rd in 4 seasons? We shall see. There's plenty of others in contention as well in this exciting finale. Lights are on. Lights off. It's go for the 5-way decider here in Buriram. A good getaway from Kevin Estre from pole ahead of Kevin Magnussen as the Frenchman comes out of turn 1 first. Exactly the start he needed. Estre leads out of turn 1 ahead of Magnussen and Rosenqvist in 3rd place. As it stands, it's Rosenqvist who'll be taking the title, but there's a long way to go yet. Magnussen on the attack on Kevin Estre at turn number 3, and it's the Fun Metal who goes through into the lead. Kevin Magnussen leads the race ahead of Kevin Estre. It's Rosenqvist ahead of Dixon in 3rd and 4th. Robbie finds in 5th, and it's Luke Browning, Jean-Eric Verne and Tony Fitzcosta down in 8th place, but coming back on the Force India. And we've got Philip Albuquerque and Ryo Hirakawa running out the top 10. As the field make their way through, a long way to go in this 51-lap League 1 Buriram Grand Prix. It hosted a thrilling finale in League 2. Will it do the same with 5 drivers who could become champion today? Will it be Felix Rosenqvist, Scott Dixon, Antonio Felix da Costa, Kevin Magnussen or Kevin Estre? Well, Scott Dixon is on the attack as Estre on Magnussen, and Estre's through into the lead, and Dixon's got past Rosenqvist. That's important for Dixon. With Dixon now ahead of Rosenqvist, he's on course for the title. And da Costa's got through on Browning at the same time, so da Costa is through into 6th place, and that is Philip Albuquerque going through on Luke Browning for P7. And Browning's battling with da Costa has left the door open for Albuquerque to go through, and Albuquerque gets past. There we see the top 3 of Estre, Magnussen and Dixon. There's also the team's championship on the line as well. It's race over for Alex Palou in the Ram in their bid to survive in League 1. It's a horrible end to a disappointing season really for Alex Palou. I'd hoped for a lot more. And that's the Spaniard out on the 2nd lap. And it's going to be a long race here for Ram if they are to remain as a League 1 team. His teammate Igor Fraga is down at the back. And we've seen a change in the order. I think that might be Albuquerque being overtaken by Browning for position again. And he has been overtaken. He's Stoffel Van Dorn. Carlin, or one of a number of teams who are mathematically still in the race to survive, as are Prost and Andretti. And that is Jake Dennis going through on Van Dorn at turn 3. Through goes Dennis. And Pato Ward is the next driver behind his teammate Stoffel Van Dorn. decides to hold back. And Scott McLaughlin, who started the race from the back of the grid, has made his way up into 15th position. As far as the Teams Championship is concerned, Onyx are on course to achieve it with the positions as they are. The other contenders are Von Mattel and Arrows, who have also got their cars inside the top 6. There goes Magnussen on Estra at the final turn. And Magnussen doesn't quite do it this time. But you can just see the top 6 all bunched up behind. This was the kind of race we were after. 2 Onyxes, 2 Von Mattels and 2 Arrows line astir. Dixon's into the slipstream on Magnussen at turn number 3 this time. And that is Dixon through into 2nd place. It's now an Onyx 1 and 2. Dixon through past Kevin Magnussen. And it's race over for Nolan Siegel. And that mathematically secures Simtek's place in League 2 next season. They are the first team to be relegated today, after it's been a dreadful campaign for them. Magnussen tries to go back ahead of Scott Dixon, but isn't able to do it that time around. There's 2 drivers gone in the first 3 laps of this race. So Simtek are down from the Grand Prix Series after 5 seasons in the top flight. Came to this on a run of 14 races without scoring. It's very unlikely they're going to be added to their total here. Will Simtek remain as a Grand Prix Series team under the eyes of Ben Hackerson? We shall see. There it goes, Robin Friends on Rosenquist. At turn 3 as well, Friends goes past Felix Rosenquist. That's not good news for the Swedes. Having said that, we don't know for certain what the strategies are going to be for each of the 6 drivers. Kevin Magnussen holds the point for the fastest lap. Kevin Estra already has the point for pole position. There goes Scott McLaughlin on Stoff Van Dorn for 13th place. Good overtake from McLaughlin. Kevin Estra has got Dixon right behind. Now, is Dixon close enough to go for it at the final corner of the circuit? Well, he's attempting to. This has to be clean between Ryan Ferris's cars. They avoid contact that time. And now the field head over line to begin lap number 6. Felix Rosenquist is under attack here from Linus Lundqvist. Now we look at Kevin Magnussen in 3rd place behind the 2 Onyxes. So far, so good for Onyx, who are on course for both championships. It'll be Dixon's 3rd title in 4 seasons. The first 2 coming from Simtek. Seasons 2 and 3. But Dixon's never been part of a team that's won the team's championship. Could that change today? And Onyx have never won a championship, but it'll be the drivers or the teams. Opportunity for Ryan Ferris to change that. Prost will be handing over their reins by the end of this one. The question is, which team will that be? McLaughlin has already passed Jake Dennis for 12th place. The next driver he's chasing is Jean-Eric Verne. are the leaders again. 2 drivers out of the race, Nolan Siegel and Alex Below. Now, all 6 of these have tasted victory this season. Kevin Magnussen won the last 2. And he also won the season opener in Aruba. Scott Dixon won in New Delhi, which is his only race win of the season, believe it or not. Robin Freins took his only win in Mugello. And Rafael Marcello is not going to make it to the end of the race for Force India. He started at the back after a penalty he picked up in Sepang. And he's not going to be ending the season with any points here. Game over for the Force India pilot. Now, Force India still under attack from possibly Prost. But I would say Force India are safe with their place on the Macau Grand Prix grid next time out. And off goes Dennis in the Andretti. Dennis made a mistake at turn 1. He just carried too much speed, go for a spin, and he's wrecked his front wing as well. Not good news for the Brit, and he'll be off into the pit lane at the end of this lap. And Lee Lundqvist is heading through on Jose Maria Lopez for position. Fornaroli goes past Dennis, as does Philip Hansen and Oliver Rowland. Well, Tom Cairns is up in flames in the Prema, and that's almost sealed the team's place in League 2 next season. Because now he has to hope that his teammate Oliver Rowland gets at least a podium finish out of it, which is very, very unlikely. Out goes the Japanese driver, Tom Cairns. And Alex Johnston's place in League 2 has added another nail to that particular coffin. The top 6 separated by just under 5 seconds, I should say. Dennis does make it back to the pit lane. Andretti, as it stands, are safe. Now Ram are 8 points behind Andretti coming into this race. A 6th place finish without reply from Andretti would seal their place in League 1 next season. But at the moment, Igor Fraga is outside the top 15. The only way Ram are going to survive is for there to be a repeat of Marrakesh with the race of attrition, and for his car, or for their cars to make it to the end. It looks like Ross McGregor's fate will be sealed by the end of this, because I just cannot see Igor Fraga making his way through the field that far. There is Buemi on O'Ward. No way through that time around. Lap number 10, Astra leads, Dixon second, it's Magnussen, Freins, DaCosta and Rosenquist in the top 6. Luke Browning and Philip Albuquerque are 7th and 8th, nearly 4 seconds apart from each other. Pascal Wehrlein 9th, and Scott McLaughlin is now into the top 10, past Ryo Hirakawa. And McLaughlin goes off the circuit, breaks his front wing, and all that hard work has gone to waste for the Kiwi. He needs to be careful he doesn't get in the way here of other drivers. And that's Buemi just going through. They had to take a tighter line than desired. And that is DaCosta on the tail of Robin Freins for 4th place. As it stands, Scott Dixon will be crowned the Grand Prix World Series champion. Felix Rosenquist will be 2nd, Kevin Estre 3rd, Kevin Magnussen 4th, and Antonio Felix Acosta in 5th, all separated by 20 points. In the Teams Championship, Onyx will seal their first title by 29 points over Formatel, who will finish 2nd, and Arrows will be settling for 3rd place. In the battle to beat the drop, none of the bottom 4 teams are inside the points, and so it'll be Ram, Prema and Simtek who have already lost from this race. Well, one of their drivers have pulled out, which makes it mathematically impossible. Simtek will be relegated from League 1. Whatever happens now, it's likely that Prema and Ram will be joining them. Lap number 12, Esra leads by half a second over Dixon. Not quite battling at the moment. The top 6 are not battling with each other, but Lopez is most certainly battling. Heading past Linus Lundqvist at the final turn. Good overtake from Lopez. Prost hoping to end their reign by getting a few points out of it at least. Now, Prost and Carlin could mathematically catch Force India. And believe it or not, Andretti could as well, but Andretti cannot do so now because the pole position point has already gone to Onyx and Kevin Estra, making it mathematically impossible to catch them. So it'll be either Prost or Carlin that could deny Force India's place on the Macau grid next week. And there is Dixon. Thought about it with Kevin Estra at the last corner, but no way through just yet. In order for Prost to be on the Macau Grand Prix grid, they would need to outscore Force India by at least 27 points. And there is Lundqvist locking up at the last turn. At the moment, neither of the Prosts are in the points, and Force India haven't got Jonik Verne in the points either. Rafael Marcello is already out of the race. 4 drivers out. Tommy Canigiri, Rafael Marcello, Nelly Siegel and Alex Palou. Coming towards the first round of pit stops, will we see either of the top 6 head for the pit lane? Well, none of the top 3 are doing so. It doesn't look like Freins, DaCosta or Rosenqvist are doing particularly that. Magnussen, on the tail of Dixon for 2nd place. This is the closest that Magnussen has been all this time since Dixon got by him. And Philip Hansen, who is another one of those that started at the back of the grid after shenanigans he was involved in Sepang, has got by Linus Lundqvist for 16th position. We see Dixon up the inside of Estra for the lead, and Dixon has got past his teammate. Scott Dixon leads the League 1 Buriram Grand Prix on lap 14, an important move that could see him be crowned champion. Now, could that be that Astra is on a heavier fuel load to his teammate? Buemi is still stopped behind Stoffel van Dorn. He's not able to make his way through just yet. Dixon feels that a second win of the season is coming for him. If he was to take victory, it would be his 10th win in his entire career. Competing in his 75th Grand Prix Series race. He has the most wins, he has the most poles, he has the most podiums, he has the most fastest laps, and he has the most points. And he has the most cycles. And that's an engine problem for Kevin Magnussen in the Formental. And that spells the end of his hopes in becoming the Grand Prix Series champion. Unless he can get that back to the pit lane. It's all over for Kevin Magnussen. Da Costa comes into the pit lane, but it's game over for the Dane. And that ruins Formental's hopes of sealing the team's championship. What appalling luck for team manager Ewan Gale. Da Costa rejoins in 13th place behind Sebastian Buemi. One of the championship contenders is gone from this. We're on lap 16. There is Astra in P2 behind Scott Dixon. More reliability issues have hit Formental again. Da Costa can still become the Grand Prix Series champion, and it's still possible for Formental to win the team's championship. They came into this 11 points behind. Kevin Magnussen as well still holds the points for pole position and fastest lap. For Da Costa to take the title, he has to finish ahead of Dixon and Rosenqvist. 13 points off the top. So let's say if he was to win the race, he would need Dixon to finish 4th, and for Rosenqvist to finish 4th as well, or 4th or lower. So he has to have both of them off the podium places. Two seconds the margin between Dixon and Astra on lap 17, approaching the third waypoint. And there is Lundqvist riding the curb. Not the heaviest of curbs here. We've got a pit stop over at Arrows because Robin Frines has come in. He was running in 3rd place before entering the pits. Will he do enough to get out in front of Da Costa? We shall see. The T1Xs have carried on. Robin Frines will rejoin ahead of Da Costa in 10th position. See Scott Dixon. Now for Kevin Astra to take the title, he would need to win this race. And for Dixon and Rosenqvist to not score really. McLaughlin overtakes Igor Fraga for 18th position. So clean overtake there from the Kiwi, who's already been into the pits for a new front wing. there we see Da Costa overtaking O'Ward now for position as Verline enters the pits for Minardi. And O'Ward is coming back on the inside. Da Costa isn't having any of it, and that was nearly curtains there for the Portuguese. And Ram's time in League One is over. Igor Fraga is out of the race with engine failure, and Ross McGregor's 1 season in the top flight has come to its conclusion. Ram will be heading back down to League 2 in Season 6. Andretti can breathe a huge sigh of relief. However, one of the Promers are still left in the race. Oliver Rowland, who's outside the top 15. He would need to finish on the podium to have any hope, but that is very, very unlikely. Scott Dixon came in for his first stop, and the same for Luke Browning. That hands the lead over to Kevin Estra. Dixon will rejoin in 4th place ahead of Ria Hirakawa. That's Verline through on Lundqvist for 15th. Vern is the latest to come in for Force India, and it's a retirement also for Philip Hansen in the BAR. It's a 5th non-finish in a row. He's going to use the pit exit before he comes back out onto the racetrack. I think we're going to see a repeat of what happened with Shane van Gisbergen in the League 2 race earlier. Oh, that's a heavy shot into the barrier. And someone else is also off the circuit. I think that must be the Force India that's coming out of the pit, and that's Jean-Luc Verne. Unless that's the normal way out of the pit lane, I suppose. But Philip Hansen could have caused a massive problem there on the pit exit. And that's the latest driver to pull out of this. It's his 5th non-finish in a row for Philip Hansen since that maiden win in Marrakesh. Rosenqvist in from 2nd place for Arrows. Astra remains out there in the lead. Philip Albuquerque, who has not yet stopped in this, is up into 2nd. Antonio Felix Da Costa back into 6th place. He's now got Rio Hirakawa ahead. He needs to dispose of him as soon as he can. As it stands, Scott Dixon will be crowned the Grand Prix Series champion by 7 points over Kevin Estra. And there is the updated standings with Da Costa going through on Rio Hirakawa, but it's not enough for him to be crowned champion. Onyx will be crowned the team's champions by a whopping 41 points over Formatel in 2nd, and Arrows a further 3 points back in 3rd. In the relegation battle, it's game over for Simtek and Ram. Prema still have a car in the field, but like I say, Oliver Rowland needs to get his car to the podium to have any chance. Andretti are looking good to stay in League 1, as are Carlin and Prost. Into the pit lane comes Philip Albuquerque at the end of lap 21. New fast up of the race for Scott Dixon. That takes it away from Kevin Magnussen, boosting Dixon's chances of becoming Grand Prix Series champion for the 3rd time. And he's first with Onyx. If Estra was to come into the pit lane now, he would rejoin, potentially behind Felix Rosenqvist. I think Estra may be doing the 1 stop now. Been a good stint so far for Kevin Estra, but even victory won't be enough for him to be crowned champion today. It's been a solid season though, by his standards. We look at Dixon. second position, looking strong as ever. Prix in third, Costa fourth, who's now ahead of Rosenqvist. Rosenqvist needed to finish in front of Dixon to be crowned champion. At the moment he's running in fifth place and Dixon's second. It's not going Rosenqvist's way so far, but it's far from over. Ria Hirakawa is in sixth place for Minardi, Luke Brown in seventh, Stoff van Dorn eighth for Carlin, and it's Pascal Verline and Philip Albuquerque who have already pitted. Stoff van Dorn hasn't yet. Kevin Estre is in from the lead at the end of lap 23, presumably on the one stop. And that will allow Scott Dixon to go through into the lead again. Right on board with Stoff van Dorn, who has Pascal Verline on his tail. Verline's going to go through here at the last corner, I think. Thought about it to begin with and then holds back. Estre rejoins in fifth behind Felix Rosenqvist, and quite some way behind him actually as well. But he will be on fresher rubber. He can go like clockwork, chasing after the top four. I will reiterate, Estre has to win this race to have any hope of becoming Grand Prix World Series champion. Verline passes Van Dorn at turn 3, goes a little too deep, but has done enough to keep hold of the place. Costa is now third, ahead of Rosenqvist, but this is still not enough. Needed to finish ahead of Dixon. At the moment, Dixon is leading. And there we see Frines in second place, who would have loved to have been in the championship battle. His hopes were over last time out in Sepang. There goes Luke Brown in on Rio Hirakawa for position. Now, if Frines was to win this race, he could leapfrog both Estre and Magnussen into fourth place in the championship. Right now, he's running in P2. Lap 25, Robin Frines is second, 4.8 seconds off the lead. Got Costa, Rosenqvist and Estre, who's getting the hammer down on this lap. Dennis is far from getting the hammer down on this lap. He'd already been in for a front wing change. He's had a lock up into turn 1. This is Rosenqvist going through on to Costa. An important move for Rosenqvist. And that's in past to Costa. Great overtake from the Arrows pilot. That's him up into P3. He has to go after his teammate and Scott Dixon. And the pit stop over at Minardi. Ria Hirakawa is in for his only stop. And the same for Stoff van Dorn. Frines. Van Dorn will rejoin in 15th position. Hirakawa in 12th, ahead of the two Prost cars of Buemi and Lopez. Rosenqvist. third place there is Estra going through on Da Costa. Not quite there, Kevin Estra, unfortunately. The top end are continuing to bridge away from the rest of the pack. Dixon doesn't have any back markers he needs to deal with, and probably won't do so before the second round of pit stops arrive. Racing Chris in P3, Da Costa 4th, Estra 5th, all looking like they could still take the cycle as well. Now, Friends needs to do his teammate a favour and let him go, really. Arrows are happy to just keep things as they are because Friends is doing his utmost to go after Dixon at this point. That's Estra attempting to go by Da Costa again. Can't do so at the last turn. Has to wait back. We see Verline in P7 in the Minardi. His teammate Rio Hirakawa is in P12 shortly after making it his first stop, which will be his only one as well. Verline is doing the 2. Right on board with, tantalisingly close for a third Grand Prix Series Championship. Felix Rosenquist has been in this situation before last season. He pulled out with the final race in Phillip Island with mechanical failure, and that ruined any hope. Dixon sealed his 2 championships at Laguna Seca and San Carlos. Buriram will be the 3rd location if he is to be crowned champion. But of course, nothing is certain in the Grand Prix Series. McLaughlin, who came through from the back of the grid and pitted in for a new front wing, as we see Leo Fornaroli go for a spin in the Simtech. Gets going again. He's under attack here from Jake Dennis by the looks of it. That just sums up Simtech's season. Leo Fornaroli will just hope he can get to the end of this. The 2 at the back of the field. That's Kevin Estra, who's close to lapping the pair of them now. So these 2 need to be on their toes here. Estra. So it's not Estra closing up, it's Scott Dixon, my apologies, the race leader. Scott Dixon is closing up on the 2 back markers of Dennis and Fornaroli. What I was going to say about Scott McLaughlin is that he's pitted in for a new front wing. He starts at the back of the field. He's running up there in 9th place, doing a fine job from the back. He will pit in again though before this race is over. There we look at the HRT of Luke Browning. Is that 7 seconds off, and out goes Jake Dennis in the Andretti. Not what they needed, but with the way things are going, they look to be safe for another season in League One. It's the 8th driver to retire. And we go back to the battle for 4th place. Da Costa ahead of Estra. As it stands, Scott Dixon will be crowned champion by 10 points over Felix Rosenquist. Da Costa will be 3rd, Estra 4th, and Magnussen in 5th. In the team's championship, it's Onyx who'll be on their way to seeing their first ever Grand Prix Series title by 24 points over Arrows, who will leapfrog Formatel into 2nd place. In the battle for survival, Simtek already down, Ram are down as well, as both of their drivers are out. Prema need a podium. Failure to do so, and they will be heading back down to League 2. Andretti, even with Jake Dennis retiring, are still looking good to remain in League 1. And the same applies for Carlin and Prost. Now we look at the 2 Arrows drivers. You can see Rosenquist has gradually got the gap down on Frines as Estra goes for it on Da Costa this time, and Estra is through at last. Great overtake from Kevin Estra on Antonio Felix Da Costa for 4th position. A good overtake, but there's still a lot more needing to be done for the Frenchman. He will be in the lead once Dixon, Frines and Rosenquist pits again. There we see Lopez and Van Dorn fighting over 14th position. And there are the 2 Arrows drivers of Frines and Rosenquist. Now, a problem for either of the Onyx drivers will open the door for both Formatel and Arrows to close in. Saw the dramas of last season when Leightonhouse threw away their hopes of the team's championship when Earl Bumber, Joseph Newgarden came together. It's been a totally different story for the pair of them, with Jaguar sealing their place in League 1. There is Dixon. 10 seconds clear over Robin Frines, who's over a second ahead of Felix Rosenquist. Kevin Estra will be doing his utmost to close in on the Arrows. Giro. Da Costa, well, it just hasn't exactly gone his way so far, has it? And that's Van Dorn retiring in the Carlin. Now with Ram and Simtek already down, and Prema, who can only manage now to get 25 championship points because they're not going to get the fastest lap. I think Carlin are more or less safe now. And they are safe for another season. Our Perry Brown's team. Pato Award is having a decent race so far in 11th position, ahead of Rio Hirakawa. So there is a chance for Carlin to come away with something. Dixon in P1. Are we going to see the Kiwi come away with another championship trophy? Here's Ryan Ferris going to have the day of his life. From seeing his drivers picking up the team's championship to go with it. We're not far away from the second round of pit stops now, and there are the 2 Arrows drivers, who are Linester, Frines and Rosenquist. Surely Frines has to let Rosenquist go now. Rosenquist won't go for it at the last turn. He needs to be within the slipstream, really. He's too far back to do it at turn 1. There is Leo Fornaroli in the Simtek, who is just ahead. There are the Dutchman and the Swede in second and third. Even with that will not be enough to overcome Onyx in the team's championship. It's Dixon, 12 seconds clear over Frines and Rosenquist. We see a pit stop at the end of this lap for Dixon, or will he be carrying on? Carrying on for another lap, and Frines has got held up by Fornaroli, and that opens the door for Rosenquist to head on by here. Frines has to let his teammate go, and he does so. Rosenquist through into second place. Frines pits from P3 now. DaCosta entering the pit lane for Von Mattel. Can they complete an undercut? They're certainly not going to complete an undercut on Dixon. Dixon is too far out in front. Dixon won't be too far away from completing his second stop of the race. We're on lap 36. We've got 15 laps to go at the end of this one. Turns 11, and then it'll be 12 for Dixon to head through. Kevin Estra in third place, stopped behind the Simtek of Leo Fornaroli. Dixon's in from the lead now, and that will hand the lead over to Felix Rosenquist, unless Rosenquist decides that he's going to come in. Well, Estra got held up behind Fornaroli. Estra is now ahead of Dixon. Estra is on the 1 stop, remember. Rosenquist is not. Rosenquist is on the 2. There is DaCosta going through on Scott McLaughlin for 8th position on the road. Dixon rejoins in 4th behind Luke Browning. There is Kawa locking up at the last turn. Verline will rejoin behind his teammate in 12th. Rosenquist is due in to the pit lane for one more time. And Dixon is not making a move on Browning just yet. Oliver Rowling comes in for Prema, who are heading for the League One trapdoor with the way things are going. That is DaCosta. Now behind Philip Albuquerque, 4th position. You can see how quickly he's catching up to him corner by corner by corner. Forgot to mention the setups for each of the teams, so I'll run through those now. Prost and HRT have gone for mid-top speed. Luke Browning comes into the pit lane. BAR have gone for neutral. Arrows, Force India and Minardi have gone for mid-top speed. Simtek, Maxman, downforce. Onyx, mid-top speed. Von Mattel, Carlin, Prema and Andretti, maximum top speed. Ram, who have got both cars out of the race now, had gone for neutral. There we see Dixon, who's ahead of Browning now that Browning's in the pit lane. He's got 10 seconds to make up on Rosenquist, who'll be due into the pit lane, so it'll be less than that for him to go after Kevin Estra with. He's got plenty of time to do that. That's Dixon. 6.6 seconds is the margin in Sector 2. I think Dixon may be coming up to a couple more back markers here, because that's Leo Fornaroli and Oliver Rowland fighting over position. So things could make it a little bit tricky here for Dixon to get by. Rowland is on the fresher rubber compared to Fornaroli, so he should go by the Simtech here. And Rowland does pass Fornaroli. He will be lapped by Dixon in a moment. Now we look at Verline on Hirakawa. McLaughlin comes in for the last time, as does Vern. Rosenquist. Verline passes Hirakawa full position. Lundqvist comes in for Andretti. Scott McLaughlin rejoined in 12th place ahead of Jose Maria Lopez, who is attacking him now at turn 3. He isn't able to make the move, unfortunately, that time around. Rosenquist now is in from the lead. And that hands it over to Kevin Estra. And Scott Dixon, who is 12 laps away from being crowned the Grand Prix Series champion for a 3rd time. He was 2nd in the championship coming into this. Now it looks like he's going to be taking it away from Rosenquist, who hasn't had the best of days today. And looks like he's going to go out in front of Antonio Felix da Costa. And he's going to get overtaken here by da Costa. That adds even more salt into the wounds for Felix Rosenquist, but he's fighting back on da Costa on the exit of turn 3. Da Costa to the outside of Rosenquist, but Rosenquist will have the inside line, and he slots in. So Rosenquist loses out to Antonio Felix da Costa. Rosenquist has got to get past da Costa, Freins and Dixon to be crowned champion. There goes Rosenquist. Oh, and da Costa, is he? No, not there yet. He's losing time. There is the table as it stands. Dixon will be crowned champion by 8 points over Rosenquist. Estra will be 3rd ahead of da Costa and Magnussen. And that's Rosenquist going through on da Costa 4 position. And the table has updated, with Rosenquist now on 177, 6 points behind Dixon. He has to pass his teammate Freins and Dixon to take the title. In the team's championship, Onyx will take the championship by 39 points over Arrows, and Fomercell will be finishing in 3rd place. In the battle for survival, Andretti on course to stay in League 1. Ram already down along with Simtech. Prema have still got Oliver Rowland left in the race, but he needs a podium, and it's not going to happen at this rate. So Prema are virtually down. There we see Lundqvist heading through on Kevin Estra to unlap himself, and that's not good news for Kevin Estra in his slim hopes of taking the Grand Prix Series title. And Dixon is very quickly on the tail of him. And Freins in 3rd place, 7 seconds clear over Felix Rosenquist as Fornaroli comes into the pit lane for Simtech. And that is Dixon lapping Jose Maria Lopez as he attempts to go after Kevin Estra for the lead. How close is Dixon now? Surely he's got to be close. He's going for the inside line. Scott Dixon on Kevin Estra for the lead of the League 1 Bureau Grand Prix is through. Scott Dixon takes the lead ahead of Kevin Estra. And could that be the moment that seals his 10th Grand Prix Series victory and the championship crown to go with it? It was going to be a tall order for Estra to hold him back, but Dixon has got the job done here. That makes it even harder for Felix Rosenqvist now. Only reliability woes surely can stop Dixon now. Nine laps remaining here in Buriram. Outside of the top 5 places, Luke Browning in 6th. He's had a strong race as well in the HRT, as has Philip Albuquerque. Pascal Verline 8th, Rio Hiriko in 9th, and Scott McLaughlin inside the top 10. And there we see Forneroni about to be lapped by one of the Minardis. That is Pascal Verline. The gap between Freins and Rosenqvist has just come under 6 seconds in Sector 1 on this lap. And Dixon spins! Dixon spins in the Onyx! And the front wing's broken! A horrible error by Scott Dixon of all people! The front wing is broken! Going over the bump! He'll be back in the pit lane for a new nose section. And once he does so, it's Felix Rosenqvist. He'll be in the box seat for the championship. And there we look at Kevin Escher, who's now back into the lead. But even victory won't crown him champion. Scott Dixon, back in the pit lane, will rejoin behind Luke Browning. He may even rejoin behind Philip Albuquerque if he's unlucky. I think he's going to rejoin behind him. He is behind him. And what about Pascal Verline? He's behind Pascal Verline in 8th place. Scott Dixon has got to get past Pascal Verline, Philip Albuquerque, Luke Browning, Antonio Felix Acosta and Felix Rosenqvist to be crowned champion. And he's only got 8 laps left to do it. The mission is on. Kevin Escher in the lead. He's tasted victory twice this season in Rockingham and Poznan. Felix Rosenqvist is in 3rd place. Where he's at will crown him champion. Scott Dixon has to outscore Rosenqvist today. And he's got past Verline straight away. So Dixon's through. Into P7. He's just put a lap now on Fornerelli. He is absolutely on a charge, is Dixon. Surely he cannot do it from there. This has to be the drive of Scott Dixon's career. And that's Fornerelli coming back on the inside, but Dixon's having none of it. He's remaining in front. Dixon's doing his best to fend off Fornerelli. It hasn't been too long since Fornerelli was in the pit lane. But remember, Onyx are running the mid-top speed setup compared to Carlin on the maximum downforce setup. "17 drivers left in the race. We've lost Stoffel Van Dorn, Jake Dennis, Philip Hansen, Igor Fraga, Kevin Magnussen, Tomek Inajiri, Rafael Marcello, Nolan Siegel and Alex Palou. 6 laps to go here. How far is Dixon now behind Philip Albuquerque? He was 2 seconds off him in Sector 2. The gap has come down to less than 9/10. Dixon will be on the tail of Albuquerque very shortly to go by. He has to pass him on this lap. Is Felix Rosenqvist going to be crowned the Grand Prix Series champion for the first time? Are Arrows going to celebrate a Grand Prix Series title at last? That is Dixon on the tail of Philip Albuquerque. He couldn't get by him at turn 4. And there is that's Robin Frines, sorry. As we see Dixon now finally through on Albuquerque. The next driver he's chasing after is Luke Browning. Now, if Rosenqvist was to run into any issues, that will hand it over to Dixon. Now, looking at where DaCosta is, he's running in 4th place. For him to take the championship, he would need to finish in front of Dixon. He was 12 clear of him, or 12 behind him, sorry. And he needed to finish by him, essentially win this race, really, DaCosta, but he's not doing so. It's between Rosenqvist and Dixon for the championship. Kevin Estra is most certainly not going to be taking the title, even if he was to win this race. He's done superb today, actually, as Estra. The gap between Browning and Dixon is less than 12 seconds. 4 laps remaining for Kevin Estra. Robin Frines is continuing to get the gap down. It's 4.3. Verline has overtaken Albuquerque for 7th place in the Minardi. There is Frines. That's Oliver Rowland in front of him to lap. Rosenqvist is on fresher tyres compared to Frines, but he won't need to worry about him. He just needs to finish ahead of Dixon and the title is his. But we saw what happened at Phillip Island last season when the 2 Leighton houses came together and it all twisted as far as the team's championship is concerned. And that was on the penultimate lap. It's not over until the checkered flag. Kevin Estra is 3 laps away from his 3rd Grand Prix World Series win. Felix Rosenqvist on course for the title. 3 wins this season in Campo Grande, Dijon Bourgogne and Parnu. And that's Scott McLaughlin putting a lap here on Leo Fornaroli. He's also chasing after Philip Albuquerque, so we could see McLaughlin finishing 8th position after starting from the back of the grid. Came in for that front wing change as well. Dixon's gap on Browning is less than 10 seconds. Dixon's not gaining enough. Nowhere near it. Positions as they are, Kevin Estra on course for 25 championship points, along with the point for pole position. Scott Dixon, who has the point for fast lap, is on course for 8 championship points. 9 plus 26 is 35. That will hand Onyx the team's championship. Arrows are on course for 33 championship points. That will not be enough for them, but it will be enough for them to finish 2nd ahead of Von Metal. They need Onyx to run into reliability issues if they were to take the team's championship. Most likely Kevin Estra. It's the penultimate lap now. Felix Rosenqvist is almost there. And that's Leo Fornaroli unlapping himself from Philip Albuquerque, has been overtaken by Scott McLaughlin. You can just see Rosenqvist closing in on Frines. That's the Prema of Oliver Rowland in the way. And Prema are heading down by the end of this now. Albigate coming back on Fornaroli to lap. Now Simtek may be going down, but at least they're going down with a fight. And there is Roland being lapped here by Rosenquist, who gets held up. We won't be too fussed about that, I don't think. Final lap then for Kevin Estre. He's done his bit today, but it still isn't going to be enough. Dixon's spin looks to have cost him the Grand Prix Series title, unless we get any dramas on this final lap. Oliver only gets lapped at last by Rosenquist, who goes on by. In what's been a sensational season through twists and turns, many championship changes in terms of the lead, both in the drivers and the team's championship. Kevin Estre from pole position has driven a beautiful race. He had a chance at the championship. He had done everything he could, but even this isn't going to be enough. Felix Rosenquist is less than 5 seconds off the lead, with the corners reducing more and more as the lap continues on. It's going to be a third Grand Prix Series win for Kevin Estre in what's been a thrilling championship finale. Out of the final corner he comes. Kevin Estre wins the League One Buriram Grand Prix. Robin Fiennes finishes second, and the man in third place is your Grand Prix Series champion. That name is Felix Rosenquist. He is the Grand Prix Series Series 5 champion. And it's the first championship for Arrows. Scott Dixon heads over the line, but it's not enough. Felix Rosenquist is the Grand Prix Series champion for the first time. Onyx are team's champions. It's the first championship for Ryan Ferris. And once again, the League One Drivers and Teams Championships are shared between two different teams. Topher Smith, congratulations. The first trophy in the championship as the Arrows boss. He'd won the Teams Championship with Super Aguri in Season 2. This time it's the Drivers Championship and the first for Felix Rosenquist. And Tufo Fistacosta is fourth, Luke Brown in fifth, ahead of Scott Dixon, who was less than 6 seconds behind him. And we've got Pascal Fairline, Scott McLaughlin, who came through from the back of the field to 8th. Philip Albuquerque, 9th, bagging more points, and Rio Hurikawa, the last driver, inside the points. It's victory for Kevin Estre in Buriram, his third of the season. Not enough to be crowned champion. The champion is Felix Rosenquist. Robin Fiennes second. Felix Rosenquist celebrates his title with a podium ahead of Antonio Fistacosta in fourth. Luke Brown in fifth. Scott Dixon missing out after that horrendous spin in the closing stages. Pascal Fairline seventh. Scott McLaughlin eighth. Philip Albuquerque ninth. And the final point going to Rio Hurikawa in 10th. Sean McFern in 11th, followed by Pato Award. Sebastian Buemi ends his reign as champion in 13th, with Linus Lundqvist, Jose Maria Lopez, Oliver Rowland, who has not done enough to keep Prema in League One. They are down with Ram and Simtek. Leo Fornaroli, the last driver to finish. Stoff Van Dorn, Jake Dennis, Philip Hansen, Igor Fraga, Kevin Magnussen, Tom Kinijiri, Rafael Marciello, Nolan Siegel, and Alex Palou were the drivers to not finish. The pole position point going to Kevin Estre, the fast start point going to Scott Dixon. But even that hasn't been enough for him to be crowned the Grand Prix Series champion for a third time. A costly mistake from Scott Dixon dropped him down to 6th place, and Felix Rosenquist's 3rd place here in Buriram is enough for him to be crowned the Grand Prix Series champion for the first time in his career, in his 2nd season in this championship. A first Drivers' Championship in the bag for team manager Topher Smith, who celebrates his 2nd after the team's championship he had won with Super Aguri 3 seasons back. For Ryan Ferris, it's not quite the Drivers' Championship they had been looking for, but the team's championship he'll take. It's his first Grand Prix Series title in the Grand Prix Series of any sort, so congratulations to him. Arrows finished 2nd ahead of Von Mattel. At the wrong end of the table, Simtek, after 5 seasons in the top flight. If you look at all the achievements they had accomplished during that time, the Drivers' Championship, they had won with Scott Dixon on 2 occasions in seasons 2 and 3. 81 races, 9 race wins, 7 of those with Scott Dixon. 14 pole positions, including 10 on the bounce. 24 podiums, 12 fastest laps, and 735 championship points. At the end of their 5th season in the Grand Prix Series, their time in League 1 is over. It's also returns to League 2 for Ram and Prema. After difficult seasons, nowhere near consistent enough, particularly Ram, who have only picked up points once in the last 12 rounds. That's relegation form right there. If that's not relegation form, I don't know what is. For Prema, they've just struggled for points all season, to be honest with you. They've done well in some races, but not enough. It's a second relegation for Alex Johnston after he went down with Midland 2 seasons ago. For Simtek, Ben Hagerson came in too late to rescue them. But what will he do with Simtek? Will there be Simtek next season, or will they be under a different team name? Andretti survived in their 1st season in the Grand Prix Series, but they have a lot to do if they are to survive again. Carlin are safe. Congratulations to Perry Brown. Prost survived as well, but they were always going to do so after the brilliant run of form they had in the last third of the season. Look, doom and gloom for them, but they've managed to survive after winning the championships last season, both the drivers and teams championships with Sebastian Buemi. Force India booked their place on the Macau Grand Prix grid along with the likes of BAR, Minardi, HRT, Arrows, Formatel and Onyx. The others joining the Macau Grand Prix grid are the top 6 from League 2. Ducati, Lola, Chequera, Cooper Kiro, Lancia and Saxby will be joining them. It's time to run down on the final standings in the League 1 Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith. And I'll see you for the Macau Grand Prix non-championship race in a week's time. Topher, over to you.
Well, drama all the way to the end there. Scott Dixon in position to win the title, and then a spin throws it all away with only a handful of laps to go. That hands Felix Rosenqvist his first Drivers' Championship in the Grand Prix World Series. And Scott Dixon, he did end up as the vice champion, but I don't think there will be of any consolation to him. He knows full well that he has thrown this title away with that mistake in the closing stages of the race. The final standings at the end, Rosenqvist on 180, Dixon on 173, and Kevin Estre with his win today makes it into 3rd in the standings on 172. As for the teams, Ryan Ferris has his first title as a Grand Prix World Series manager. Onyx wraps up the team's championship on 345 points. Arrows ended 2nd on 322 and Formatel on 311. And in the relegation zone, unfortunately going down into League 2 for next season, Ram Racing, Prema Racing and Simtek, who was inevitable for Simtek anyway, but it is now being confirmed that those 3 will be the ones heading down into League 2 for next season. So what a season it has been. We still have one more event to go, that is the Macau Grand Prix next week, where the top 13 teams have qualified to enter the prestigious end of season party race. That will be next week. We can't wait to bring that to you. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in. We now have our champions for this season, and we can't wait to see what Season 6 will bring. Until the next time, thank you as always. I'm Topher Smith. Take care.